You've been out all day shooting a story and you've just come back home and are getting ready to download the memory card from your camera onto your computer. You've got well over 300 photographs on that card, and the question now is, where do you put them and how do you organize them so that you can find them quickly and efficiently later? In this lesson, we're going to look at how we can build a robust and reliable workflow system so that you can capture, sort, and store all of your photographs in a logical and easily accessible manner. The very first step in organizing the work that you're doing is renaming all of the photographs that came out of your camera. If you take a close look at the tags that each of the files have in the folder containing your photographs, you'll see that your camera has given each image a unique tag, a unique number. We have to change these because this is not a numbering system that will allow you to catalog your work. So what we're going to do is take the folder with all of your photographs in it that you downloaded onto your desktop from your camera and open it up in a photo editing application. I use something called Photo Mechanic, but there are a number of similar applications that do the same job. What we want to do is a batch rename of all of the photographs on your card from this story. So I'll select all of the photographs and I will go to Rename Photos, where it asks me to give a basic renaming tag to all of the images. This is where we begin to organize our work. My suggestion is that you tag all of your photographs with a tagging system that is basically a combination of the day, the month, and the year in which you took the photograph. This will help you organize and locate your work without any difficulty at all. These photographs that I'm renaming here, I took today. So the string that identifies every one of the photographs in this job becomes 10 for the day, 02 for the month of February, 16 for the year, then dash. We want to give this a sequence number starting from 001 so that all of the photographs from this job will have a sequence number 001, 002, 003, and so on. Okay. Rename. So now we see that all of the photographs here have the same basic string which identifies them by the day they were taken, by the day, the month, and the year they were taken, followed by a string that identifies them as their sequence in the story. Now the suffix here, nef, is a Nikon proprietary suffix. Every camera manufacturer has their own proprietary suffix which they tag on to the camera. We leave this here for the time being. Close this. Now we reopen the folder of all of the photographs that we downloaded from our camera, and we see that everything has been renamed using our new filing system. The next step is to create a folder in which you're going to keep all of the work related to this story. And you want to tag this folder in such a way that you will always be able to very easily put your hands on the photographs from this story. Since the photographs that you saw were pictures that I took of my office, we're going to call this folder Office Story and give it the same tag that we gave, the same identification tag that we gave all the pictures inside. Again, a string of numbers made up of today's day, today's month, and the year in which the picture was taken. This folder, Office Story 100216, becomes the basic building block of our filing, editing, and archiving system. Wherever you put this folder, on your internal hard drive, on an external hard drive, wherever you keep your photographs, you'll always be able to put your hands on this story and the photographs that are contained inside this folder. Let's open up this folder and see what we have inside. Inside we have the basic structure for organizing our photography story by story. Every folder you create for every story you shoot should have the same basic internal architecture. The file labeled RAW, the file labeled TIFF, the file labeled JPEG, and the file labeled EDIT. We're now going to take the RAW folder, which, as we can see, has all the photographs that we transferred from our memory card onto our desktop and renamed. We're now going to take that folder and open it in our photo editing application, where we want to make an edit. We want to select those frames out of everything that we shot that we want to work with. Clearly, not everything is worth working on. Some are, some aren't. We're going to choose one frame here that we think stands out from all the rest. We're going to select it and transfer it to our edit folder. So I've tagged it here. I'm going to select tagged and copy that to our edit folder. The desktop. Here's our folder Office Story. Open that. Here's our folder Edit. I'm going to select that and instruct Photo Mechanic to copy that photograph into the edit folder. Okay, we can now close Photo Mechanic and let's just review what we've got here. We've got our RAW folder with our renamed images in it from the camera. We've got our edit folder into which we've copied the photograph that we selected. And then we've got the JPEG and the TIFF folders that we created, into which we will put the material that we worked on that's in the edit folder. Okay, so let's go back now and take things forward. This is the frame that we selected to work on. We'll open it in Photoshop. And we'll just do some basic work on it. It's a color photograph that I would rather see in black and white, so I will desaturate it. I'll just give it a bit more contrast, bump up the clarity, punch up the blacks a little bit. Okay, I'll open that image now. And here we go. I'll give it a little bit of a black key line. 5 pixels should do. Right? Deselect. Okay. We're now ready to save this edited image. And we're going to save it in two different ways. We're going to save it as a TIFF, which is a large file, and a JPEG, which is a compressed file, and probably the file format you're more familiar with. The JPEG is very useful for moving around via email or for transferring from a computer to a pen drive. It's a small compressed file relative to the TIFF file, which is a much larger file and really represents a sort of negative from which you will make subsequent JPEG copies. Let's save this then as a TIFF. We always save as a TIFF first. Save it as a TIFF. To our TIFF file. Okay, and then we want to save it again as a JPEG. Make sure we send it to the right folder. Office Story. And here's our JPEG folder. Save. And we want to save it at the maximum allowable file size. That's bump it all the way up to 12 so we get a nice healthy JPEG. Okay. And now we can close this. And let's go back and look at our folder structure here and see what we've got. In your edit folder, you have the frame that you selected from your story that was worth working on. In your JPEG folder, you've got a JPEG version of that image. In your TIFF folder, you've got a TIFF version of that image. And in your RAW folder, you've got the RAW files as they came out of your camera, which we renamed. And you'll notice that the TIFF and the JPEG all have the similar corresponding file tags. This is your basic file system architecture. For every story that you shoot, you need to create a master folder. In our example here, we called it Office Story with the date tag that stamps the date on which the story was created. This is your basic folder in your archive. And inside the Office Story folder, you've got these following subfolders. A folder called Edit, a folder called JPEG, a folder called RAW, and a folder called TIFF. Every story folder you create, for every story that you shoot, should conform to this same basic folder architecture. If you use this system to organize your work and file your work, you shouldn't have any difficulty putting your finger on any story that you shoot, simply by identifying the title you gave the story and the date it was shot. In this assignment, you will set up a photo archiving system using the file architecture that we discussed in the lesson. I'd like you then to file the selfie photographs that you took in the first assignment in this new filing system, making sure that all of the files and all of the folders are correctly tagged and labeled so that you can now find your selfie photographs easily and efficiently.